Hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him and I'm here to talk to you guys about Deshaun Watson, who is just announced out for the game against the San Francisco 49ers. So we're going to cover the medical side of things, what the injury was reported to be, as my dog walks behind me. So you want to say hi to the camera, Mr. Boston? There he is. Look at him. What the injury is, what are the implications to that injury, why he didn't play 2 weeks ago and why he's still not playing. And we're going to cover conspiracy theories and what I think is actually going on, one of two possibilities that's actually going on with this injury. Okay, so my background, athletic training major in undergrad, 4 years of undergrad of athletic training major. I am a chiropractor. I own 2 practices here in Dallas and in Grapevine, where I operate out of, where I treat a lot of non-catastrophic shoulder injuries. That's what I would consider. I would see probably 30% of my patients have who come in to see me. I work with a lot of CrossFit athletes. Granted, they're not a lot of throwing athletes, but I do consider myself an expert in non-catastrophic shoulder injuries, okay? I was also a Division III All-American wrestler, for what it's worth. That's going to be more of a comment for later when we talk about toughness and pain tolerance for Deshaun Watson. So the medical side of things, I saw Mary Kay Cabot report that she spoke with an orthopedic surgeon. Basically what the orthopedic surgeon said was it can take up to 6 weeks to fully recover from a contusion. Okay, that's a very blanket statement and something that really doesn't mean anything, right? We've seen a lot of players play with injuries that aren't fully recovered. It's pretty common in the NFL, kind of happens to probably every player every single game, as my cat Meatloaf walks through the background. The injury in question here, he was medically cleared from, which I think is important because to my knowledge, it's unprecedented that a starting quarterback in the NFL who is on a team that is still eligible, still in the hunt to make the playoffs. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns are still in the hunt to make the playoffs. They're not mathematically eliminated because it's early in the season. We're going into week 6 right now. So that's the first big red flag is like, why was he medically cleared and why isn't he telling his coaching staff that he needs to be on the field? Historically, we've seen Matt Stafford play with fractured vertebra. We've seen Aaron Rodgers play with a fractured thumb on his throwing hand. We've seen Baker Mayfield play with a shoulder injury on his non-throwing arm where it was a fracture and I believe a rotator cuff rupture as well, required surgery after the season. He ended up playing throughout the whole season, and now we're seeing Deshaun Watson on the same team basically voluntarily say, I'm not ready to go, okay? So breaking down the shoulder injury, it's a contusion, it's a pain tolerance thing. The risk for re-injury is virtually zero with this sort of thing. Of course, you can get a bump on your shoulder. It's more of an ouchie than anything based on how they're reporting it. So maybe a possibility is they're not reporting it correctly. Do I think that's very likely? No. The reason I don't think it's very likely is because they kind of doubled down on it. Originally, they said that it is a shoulder contusion. They kind of played it down, medically cleared, wasn't able to go. What did they say? It is a rotator cuff contusion, which to me makes it sound like they are trying to make the injury sound worse than it actually is, throwing in the rotator cuff detail, which confirms that it's not a strain in the rotator cuff. It's a boo-boo. It's an ouchie. So I do think the reporting of the shoulder injury itself was accurate. So why can't Deshaun play 3 weeks out from this shoulder injury? Is he soft? Maybe. Okay, I think that is a definite possibility. Maybe Deshaun is just not tough, but his offensive coordinator came out and defended him. Deshaun played with a torn ACL in his past. He has fought through injuries before that were far worse, and he was able to play and he was able to perform in his past history in the NFL. But we all know this, there's a little bit of new stuff going on with this Deshaun Watson situation. What I think it is this is a way out. He was given a way out of the situation. All of his money is fully guaranteed. We've seen him struggle with mental fortitude early in the season. We saw him meditating kind of awkwardly with a coach on the sideline for the Steelers game when he went into the Pittsburgh Steelers field and Acquisher and did not go well, right? He got absolutely blown out, had a horrible game. And why is he having these mental issues? I think he's getting a lot of like chirps and heckles from these fans. I think he feels a lot of pressure that he has basically put on himself. Independent investigator on the situation that the NFL hired found that he had repeated predatory behavior. So rightfully so, right? He should be getting a lot of this criticism when he's going on the road and playing these road games, and it seems to be mentally affecting him a lot. He had a great game, and then he had this shoulder injury. He warmed up, and I think what he is taking here is an opportunity to not play football for the team. The third thing that I saw circling around Cleveland Browns Twitter is this is a conspiracy. It's basically a hold-in. It's like a coup that Deshaun Watson is forming, and the rest of the team is on his side. Now, a couple of players on the team did come out and support him, saying that they're not mad about him taking some time off. I saw a conspiracy theory that basically said that he is holding out because Coach Stefanski's offensive game plan for the game was so bad, he didn't want to do it, and he wants Coach Stefanski out. Now, that's an interesting thing. I love conspiracy theories, y'all. I love them. I'm a guy who's like, hey, let's investigate these Chiefs referees for these games because there's some fishy shit going on in Kansas City, especially when Taylor Swift happens to be in attendance for these games. On this side of things, Deshaun Watson holding out, I don't think makes sense because I don't see like Amari Cooper, the offensive line, and everybody else supporting him through this. We're like, hey, we're trying to win a Super Bowl right now. We got a good football team. I don't care how bad our head coach is. There's been a lot of great football teams that have carried, mediocre, below average head coaches to Super Bowls in the past before. I don't think that's something that would set well with the rest of the team. And I don't think that's something that Deshaun really has the leverage to do to kind of usurp the head coach of the football team. So what I think it is I think it's just either a lack of toughness thing, a softness thing, or he's having some serious mental issues going on. And I think that combination of the two is really what we're looking at. I think he doesn't feel ready to perform because he's just feels like there's way too much pressure on him in Cleveland, and he found a cheap little way out, and that cheap little way out is still providing him with PTO. My name is Jamie Jakes. Tell me what you think. Do you think that I'm wrong? Do you think I missed something? Please leave a comment below. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this. If you want to see more Cleveland Browns stuff, I'd be happy to provide it for you. We had pretty good feedback from the Lions recap. And please check out our gambling podcast that we did for week 6, previewing all 6 games, where I recommended San Francisco 49ers minus 5.5 this past week. Obviously, that hasn't cashed yet, but the line now has moved all the way to a 10-point favorites for the San Francisco 49ers over the Browns because of all this mess. Of course, also Joel Bitonio out, which I think is another massive situation for the Cleveland Browns, kind of their last good standing offensive lineman that they have over there in Cleveland. Anyways, thank you for watching. Good night.